Therapy tips for the chronic freeze. I've found lately something that's helped me, which I can just express for myself even with my free counselor right now. I realized I don't necessarily need a somatic therapist if I'm low on funds. If you're in the chronic freeze, you know what that's all about, then I see you. If you're just learning about the term, I suggest Irene Lyon's video on the chronic freeze. If you're just new to all this, it's basically through repeated stress and trauma. If we're in chronic stress and sympathetic activation long enough, the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system will just take over and just shut the whole system down as a protective mechanism. And people, it kind of annoys me when understandably, when people say you need to do more to get out of it. You need to activate the system. And I think it's a misunderstanding in my somewhat limited knowledge. In my experience, it is. I think that's a good strategy for shutdown, which is different than freeze. Although there seems to be a lot of overlap, and they seem to be very related. But if we're doing more to get out of freeze, you've already done enough. That's why you're in it in the first place. Is it not just more adrenalizing? Is it not just more stress and just forcing yourself to the other end of the roller coaster so that you can crash again? I think it's a misunderstanding when people recommend that. And so my tip, and something that's been helping me, like I said, I realized I could even just, since I haven't been able to afford a full price somatic therapist lately, I realized I could just communicate this with any therapist who feels safe. And even by communicating this, I can make myself feel safe with any therapist that I jive with. Which is just to be there with me. I don't just to get the reassurance that it's okay that I don't do anything. I don't even want to answer your questions. Just getting the reassurance from them and requesting them that I can just be here and rest. Notice the deep breath I get just from thinking about it, and just co-regulate. And that's what I need more than anything to come out of freeze. Not any more action. You've done enough. If you get this, I see you. I'm there with you. I'm here for you. Just to get the reassurance from the therapist that I don't have to think about the time expressing all these things. Is it okay? You're keeping track of time. I can get anxious about doing that myself. It's not our job as clients. I might not, answer any of your questions if they aren't familiar with the approach of just co-regulation, just being with each other together. If you're in freeze, I'm sure you're tired. And it's the emotional, it's physical, but it's the emotional tiredness as well that Pete Walker talks about in his Complex PTSD Bible, as myself and others like to call it, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. It's what we never got as kids and as babies, is enough of just that co-regulation and just being held and just being safe in another person's presence and attuned to. And so I can ask that. I don't have to necessarily pay $130, $180, an hour for basically something that I could, even ask a friend for. Like lately, I've noticed that the same people pleasing has come up with friends. And if I'm meeting up with a friend, because sometimes I do have to force myself to do that. If I isolate, the freeze is only going to get worse. So I think there is a place for sort of forcing yourself out of it. If you've been in your room hungry long enough and been unable to take care of yourself, sometimes you do need to just force yourself out. And I know how hard that can be when you're in the freeze. It can feel impossible. I'd encourage you not to stress yourself out too much about it, but there's the balance of like, maybe the fact that I'm hungry right now is just making things worse because of my blood sugar, even as tired as I am. And it just took me, I just had 2 popsicles. I was tired coming home from the grocery store. I had 2 keto collagen protein popsicles. I just had 1 at first, and then I needed a second just to get home, just to propel me through. So I get it. And yes, back to my point about meeting up with friends when I'm in the freeze. Classic freeze belief Pete Walker talks about in the book. Again, highly recommend if you have complex PTSD and you haven't read it. He talks about the freeze type, and the belief being there's no way I'm going to connect with other people. And that is a reality when I'm deep enough in the freeze. I can meet up with a friend, done this millions of times, and not be able to establish a connection or feel connected to my environment or to people around me. That classic feeling of being alone in a group of people, because you don't have that attunement, right? There's no one that you feel you can really let in or that can really see you, perhaps. And so I'll tell them when I meet up, hey, don't want to get talking right away, not talkative right now. And I'll just let my system co-regulate for a while until I feel ready to talk, until the impulse that isn't compulsive to talk comes, and until then I can just be with them, and sometimes I'll just briefly meet up with friends because it's better than isolating, so that's my tip to help you if you don't feel like you're getting the results you need from your therapist when you're trying to work and come out of this chronic freeze. Is just, if you feel this way and you're as dysregulated and frozen up as I've been, just tell them I don't want to have to do anything, and own it. Like, even if they're asking you questions, make it feel safe for yourself so you don't so that they get and that understand that you want to be okay to just not answer. So that's pretty much it for today. Again, thanks for watching. If you need support, I'll drop my contacts below. And if you're there, I see you, and I'm here for you. Thanks.